All right. I think we are up and running. I think what I will do first is jump over to the chill stream layout and go through some general upcoming updates and things that I'm working on and planning. We'll do sort of like a recap of some upcoming things, and then after that we'll go into the tier list layout for more bad opinions. So let's go ahead and do that. Get the BGM set up. I will leave the BGM there for now. We'll be running through a combined playlist of all of the BGM tracks I've released so far. That includes the new stuff from Stream Sounds, since I can't remember if I added those to the master playlist last time I used it. So that stuff will be rotated in the mix, and it'll be in the background while we sort of talk through some basic updates for things here on the channel, and then we'll get into the actual tier lists. So let's see, upcoming plans. I am planning on continuing the ongoing stuff that I've been working on here as far as games go. I am going to take a look at my options for next week. I think my schedule is going to be slightly different for streaming next week. We should be live on Monday, Wednesday or Thursday, and probably Sunday. There'll be at least 3 next week. I just need to figure out when and what I'm doing. There will probably be a mix of gaming streams, and I do want to do a jam stream on the weekend since it's been a little while since we've done one of those. We can get back into practice and BGM brainstorming like we've done before. I do need to talk to the other members of the Salt Table. We're in the process of planning the next Salt Table session. If everyone's schedule lines up, that might be next week. I don't know yet. I've got to talk to everyone and figure out scheduling for that first. If that ends up happening, it'll be one that I'm chairing. It's been 3 weeks or so since we did the last one, and that was the Persona Knife Wifer heist that Wazzy ran. And so our plan is to sort of rotate between the different members when we occasionally have themed discussions for the sessions, and I'll be doing the next one. But that might be on the list for next week. If we don't end up doing that, I might see if Matt's available to do another session for A Link to the Past Randomized. We did that on Thursday, and it went pretty well. We actually have a viable run through that game, which I'm grateful for. If we didn't, then we'd have to start over, and that would make me very sad. But we will make that a question mark for now. I think I want to return to Vampire Survivors next week, since it's been a little bit on that, and check out some of the new stuff and the recent update. That might be Monday's stream. I haven't decided yet. Another thing I've been working on in the background and trying to nail down is the idea of doing a themed month of streams and content. I'd sort of mentioned probably a few months ago that I was thinking about doing this at some point, but I really would like to do a fighting games month of content here on Twitch and on YouTube. And what that would look like would be a mix of offline videos and streams that all focus on different fighting games. And I'd have to put together a list of the ones I own, the ones that I'd want to cover, and which ones I'd want to do on stream and whatnot. But I think that'd be really interesting. Right now, I'm tentatively looking at August because I want to wait for Multiverses to come out, since I didn't get a chance to play the closed alpha, and everything I've read on that game looks really interesting and fun, and I think it'd be good to cover during Fighting Game Month. So it definitely won't be June. July is tricky because I'm going to be out of town for a bit in July. So I'm tentatively looking at potentially doing Fighting Game Month in August. We'll see. I need to start getting some more information together for that. But other than that, things will be pretty much proceeding as normal. Oh, there'll definitely be more Monster Hunter on the schedule. In fact, I may work in one of those next week if any of the collaborative projects that we're working on can't happen due to scheduling. I may do some more grinding in Rise, because we were getting almost a month away from Sunbreak's release, and I definitely want to be through the majority of base Monster Hunter Rise's endgame before that comes out, so we can jump into the new content. Because once that comes out, we'll be doing lots of Monster Hunter on the channel again. And I think that's about it for updates. If I think of anything else that's relevant to talk to folks about when I'm doing one of these update sections of stream, I'll be sure to mention it. But I don't really follow a super strict content planning schedule, and stuff's subject to change. Well, that being said, we can jump over to the tier list layout and actually get into our tier ranks. So kind of following on what we did last time, maybe a month ago or so, where I looked at food-related things. Since that seems to generate good discussion, I wanted to jump back into ranking types of food. What we've got here to sort of start off, and this is a pretty lengthy tier list. This one is vegetables. And I looked around on the tier list site, tried to find one that was pretty comprehensive. Obviously, there's a bazillion vegetables that exist out in the world, but I wanted to find one that had a pretty comprehensive list and at least a good spread of things that I could rank. And fortunately, this one, and credit goes to Hechizo on Twitter. This one has subtitles on some of the images to clarify what they are in the ranking, which is good because some of the stuff on here I wouldn't have recognized just from a regular static image. And I could tell already I'm going to probably be putting some of these in the have not tried category, but it's a good spread. And this is from vegetables all over the world, not just from one region or country. And so I think that will give us a good spread for things to rank. Well, let's see if I can separate out the stuff I haven't tried, just to shrink down the list a little bit. What does it say? Broccoli rabe? That looks like Chinese broccoli. Or at least something similar. I've not tried that. I probably tried something similar. Let's see. Celeriac. Something related to celery. I've not tried that. Dandelion. These are dandelion greens. I've seen, but I don't think I've tried on their own. Fiddlehead. These look like ferns. Oh, here's Chinese broccoli. Gailan. Garlic scraps. I've not tried. Sunchoke. I haven't tried sunchoke. Radicchio. Not tried rutabagas. I've tried turnips. They're very similar. What else? Snap peas, snow peas, sorrel. It looks like. Oh no, here's chard. Huh. Okay, I don't know what sorrel is. This one, kohirabi. Let's see. Anything else? I think that's it for stuff I haven't tried on the list here. How come tomatoes on here? Tomato's not a vegetable. Tomato's a fruit. And how about peppers? They're grown in the same way a fruit is, but I don't know what they're considered. Well, we're gonna rank tomato. I'll bet this will be on the fruit tier list too. All right, we will start from the top, and I'll be placing the ones that I do have an opinion on here. First one, acorn squash. I do not eat acorn squash very often. In fact, I don't really make it by myself at home. But fun fact, when I worked in the kitchen, I used to work in a vegetarian station, and we'd make a lot of different vegetable dishes. And one of our most popular ones was roasted stuffed acorn squash. And so that was really my experience with preparing, cooking, and trying this particular type of vegetable. It's good. It's got a good flavor, and it's pretty versatile. Acorn squash soups are good. It works really well as a roasted vegetable. It's just not one that I seek out actively, but it's decent. We'll put it up here on B tier. Next up, artichokes. Artichokes are another one that I don't eat very often. They tend to be a little bit pricey depending on the season and the time of year. But I do like artichokes quite a bit. They're kind of a lot of work to eat if you're eating the whole artichoke as opposed to just the heart. But in the rare occasion where I do get one, I do like them a lot. The leaves, where you tear off the leaves and kind of dip them in butter and you eat like the bottom parts of the leaves, that's pretty good. The heart, the middle, once you scoop out all the stuff around it, is also really good. And then interestingly enough, the stem, as long as you boil it and cook everything, the stem actually is decent to eat too. So that's kind of a rare thing for me to eat, but I do like artichokes. It's a shame they don't grow easily where I live, where I try and plant some of my own. Next up, asparagus. Asparagus is another one I don't prepare and make myself often, but if I'm at a function or a restaurant or something that has like grilled or roasted asparagus, I'll definitely eat it. It's just not one I prepare myself super often. I'm going to put it up on B tier. This one, I think people tend to have a lot more of an opinion on, but it's a really versatile vegetable. You can cook asparagus and prepare it in a lot of different ways, and it's pretty flexible as far as, flavors and how you can prepare it. Very good. One potential downside is it makes your pee smell funny. That's kind of an annoying side effect. Hey, Sour Lad's here. Sour Lad says vegetables. Yep, we are ranking produce. This is a pretty comprehensive but not all encompassing list of vegetables. And then after this, we will look at fruits. This is the bigger list, so I figured I'd start with this one first. But yeah, everyone should eat vegetables. They're good for you. Next up, avocado. Isn't avocado technically a fruit too? Should probably verify some of this stuff. It doesn't really matter for the sake of the tier list here because you kind of eat them the same way as vegetables. Yes, the actual consumable parts of the avocado are technically a fruit. Avocado pear, alligator pear, huh? Well, it's considered a berry. I didn't know that. Avocados are good. Just kind of like a lot of the ones we'll see on here. You could do a lot with this particular type of food. I'm going to put it up here on A, rank a little higher. You could make guacamole, which is great. You could eat them straight up with a little bit of salt or hot sauce. They're great on salads. They're great on sandwiches. Avocados are a good supplementary ingredient to all sorts of different dishes. And they just add flavor and nutrients, I suppose, protein to whatever it is you're making. So pretty versatile and useful in a lot of different types of foods. Yeah, definitely a big fan of avocados. I like them on salads personally. Next up, we've got bamboo shoots. I thought this was baby corn at first, but bamboo shoots are really common in Asian cooking and cuisine. I'm going to say these are okay. They're going to go further down the list on B tier. Usually my go-to would be something like a stir fry or maybe like a Mongolian barbecue or something like that. I wouldn't seek out bamboo shoots just on their own. They have a pretty distinct and noteworthy flavor. But as an ingredient in stuff, it's fine. I'm moving down to C tier. They'd be upper C tier. If they're included in a dish, I won't bat an eye, but I honestly wouldn't seek out and eat these by themselves. And it's kind of a similar situation for bean sprouts. I like bean sprouts in different dishes, but it sort of depends on what. I'm going to put bean sprouts up here on C tier. Things like stir fry, Asian noodle dishes as like a additional thing, topping. Things like pad thai and Thai food. Stir fries. Hiroshima style okonomiyaki. I like bean sprouts as kind of like a texture and additional thing. But again, I wouldn't eat them on their own. Hey, first time chat from Joda Gusso? Is that how you say your name? Feel free to let me know if I say your name wrong. But welcome to the tier list stream where I get canceled over my bad opinions. And Joda Gusso says, right now I only disagree with the avocado. I see. Would you put avocado lower? Or would you put it higher? Feel free to sound off in the chat if you would place things differently on the list here. Some of the regulars that swing through here definitely are not shy about telling me when they think I'm wrong. Joda Gusso says, yep, that was right on the name. And F tier. Not a fan of avocados, I see. That's fair. This tier list is one of the higher rated ones on the tier maker site. And so I always encourage people to go and grab the tier list and do their own ranking of things that I cover here on the channel. And then see where stuff breaks out and then send it to me on Twitter. That way, you could see who who ranks what where. Let me see. I might be able to just paste a list for this one. Anyone curious can just grab it straight out the chat. That'd be easier. Let me see. If not, I think this was one of the highest ranked ones on the list. Here we go. Moving on, we've got beets. Now this is for, I wonder if this is for the actual vegetable or versus the tops. I'm going to assume this is for the whole beet itself, not the tops. Beets are okay. I'm going to put them middle of C tier. This is another vegetable I don't seek out actively, but if it's in something, like a salad or another prepared dish, if there's beets in there, they're fine. I find them inoffensive. I wouldn't pick them out, but I also wouldn't go and track down beets at the supermarket. A lot of the stuff that's going to populate tier C is stuff that's all right. You know, I'll eat it. D and below are going to be ones I actively don't like. And we'll see what ends up filling the list out there. Next up, we've got peppers. This is yellow, red, and bell peppers, green peppers. This one's tricky because I would actually rank these separately depending on the type. So I'll have to do kind of an average score for this one. Let's see. I'm going to put them on high B tier with a big caveat. Yellow, red, and orange peppers would be at the top of the list. I like those. They're really versatile to cook with, good in a lot of different dishes, and have a good flavor. I actively do not like green or bell peppers. I don't know what specifically besides the flavor, but I do not like green bell peppers, and I will avoid them. So I would put green or bell peppers in F tier because I can't stand the taste of them. But because the flavor of the other ones I really like, it's going to kind of even out to about B tier here. But this will be kind of a unique case where in the overall family, they're pretty good, but one type, it's just the flavor of bell peppers I do not like. Next up, we got bitter melon. Bitter melon is very common in a lot of Asian foods from what I've seen. I'm going to put it on C tier. It's okay. Has kind of an unusual taste to some people. I don't mind it. Wouldn't be my first choice, but I've never actively avoided it when it's been in foods. I've tried a bunch of Asian squashes / melons that aren't on here that I like a lot more, but they're not included on the list here, so I'm just going to rank this for bitter melon. Sour Lad says, bell peppers got a strong flavor for me, C tier. I think that's why I don't like them. Compared to yellow, red, and orange peppers, which all have kind of a more sweet flavor and they're a bit more neutral, bell peppers taste a lot more strongly, and the actual flavor itself I don't like. I find it overpowering. If it's in something and cooked, I probably won't make a big deal and pick them out. But if they're raw or on pizza, and I'm not a fan. But yeah, I could see C tier. That makes sense. Next up, we got bok choy. This is, well, it doesn't specify if it's baby bok choy or the full-size ones. Bok choy is great. It is a very easy to prepare vegetable. I'm going to put this above avocados. Let's see. Joda Guso says, can I send my list here? Yeah, you could paste it in here. I have link permissions set for chat. So as long as nobody abuses that, it'll be fine. Or you could send it to me over on Twitter. Either or is fine. Because I think if you send the link, it's not going to show... Actually, I don't know. If I click on it, I think it's just going to pull up the tier list that I was working on. Yeah, that's the problem. So you can't send a link to the tier list that you filled out, because it's going to default to the one that I was working on this computer. What I tell people to do is just use the image capture and send me the image over on Twitter. That's why. Because when I click on the link that you pasted, Joe DeGusso, it just pulls up this tier list I'm actively filling out right here on stream. It doesn't show me what you filled out, so I can't see it. If you use the save or download button down here, it gives you an image. Then you could just send the image. Joe DeGusso says, "Dang, I don't have Twitter." If you have a way to just save the image to like a free image hosting site, you can do that. Otherwise, you'd have to find a way to send a link to the image itself and put it somewhere. It would be nice if it created a static image with a link, so someone could just pull it up like you pasted there. But unfortunately, it's not static. Eventually, once I have my community Discord live, there'll be a place for people to just drop stuff right in the Discord for things like this. But I'm still working on my Discord for now. Sarlat says based. Yeah, if you don't have Twitter, I wouldn't say you're missing a whole lot. It's kind of a hell platform. Alright, so we put bok choy up here on A tier. I mentioned that it's really versatile and you could do a lot with the vegetable. Real easy way to prepare full size or baby bok choy is just to slice it up and then saute it with garlic and a little bit of salt. Very simple. Fantastic way to eat the vegetable. Doesn't require any sauces or any complex flavor, just garlic and salt. Super easy. Next up on the list, we've got regular broccoli. This one is probably polarizing for some people, depending on what kind of childhood you had. I like broccoli. I don't cook with it super often, but I do know some interesting recipes for this one, and I can kind of talk through one. I'm putting broccoli up here on upper B tier. Kind of like a lot of the other ones on the list here, you could do a lot with broccoli. I wouldn't really eat it raw. I've had some good broccoli salads that are okay, but I like mine cooked or stir fried. One of the more interesting recipes I picked up a while ago, I don't remember when I saw it, but you basically take the florets, not the whole heads like this, it's harder to cook that way. You get the chopped up florets of broccoli, you put it on a sheet pan, and you do a little bit of an olive oil and sriracha sauce mix, and then you just cover the whole thing, and then you roast it. You roast it with the hot sauce on it until the broccoli gets kind of crispy, and it's really good. It becomes kind of like not broccoli chips, but it becomes like a crispy roasted hot sauce snack type thing. It's very good. Joe DeGusos has found a way. A Google Doc. Okay. The Google Doc requires access. Now, let me see. There might be an easier way to do it. That way you're not creating a public document. It's something you have to worry about maintaining. Where is the... Could have sworn Google had their own image hosting things. A friend of mine does that whenever they need to send me images. Photos? I see. Let's try this other one from Joe DeGusso. Let's see. The second link that you posted still requires access. I know there's a way to create just like a anonymous users can access, and it shows like with a random name. I've never done that with a public Google Doc, but it should be in one of the settings and doesn't require requesting access. But yeah, we'll figure that out while we're moving here. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, I got it, Jodaguso. It opened up. I will save a copy of that to look at later. That way I can compare it once we finish this one. But thanks for doing that. Like I said, when I eventually create a community Discord, it'll be easier for people to share stuff. I see Wazzy's here. Wazzy says you're ranking green things. We were ranking vegetables first, Wazzy, and then we're doing fruits. Let's see. If you want to do your own, here's the link to create your own tier list, Wazzy, if you think I'm wrong like you usually do. Wazzy says you've never had a rutabaga? I have never had a rutabaga, no. Maybe I had it in a dish, but I, for the life of me, cannot remember what they taste like. They're kind of like a turnip, right? And Wazzy says you put avocado on A, so we good. Yeah, I don't think I've gotten any really scandalous opinions yet. I was talking about how much I dislike green bell peppers earlier, but other than that, I think we're moving along. Broccolini, is this what they make broccoli salad out of? I'm putting this in, haven't tried. I know broccoli, but broccolini I don't have as much experience with. It's very similar from what I remember. It looks kind of similar, and I imagine the taste is close, but I'm going to put it down here since I can't form an accurate opinion on it. Next up, we got Brussels sprouts. Another polarizing one from certain childhoods, I imagine. Brussels sprouts, I am going to put up here near the top of B tier. And I'm going to explain something with this. I understand a lot of people don't like these, and it probably has to do with how they've been prepared or how they ate them when they were children. I have a really good, very simple recipe for making Brussels sprouts that's fantastic. And every person I've tried the recipe on has been surprised and realized that the vegetable's not hot garbage. The worst way you can make Brussels sprouts is to boil them. Boiled or steamed Brussels sprouts are really not good. They tend to get kind of soggy and they smell. Not a good way to prepare the vegetable. And I think that was the most common one people did back in the day. That's why they have such a stigma, I think. The best way to prepare Brussels sprouts is to roast them in an oven. And the recipe that I have is very simple. You basically take the small Brussels sprouts and you halve them. You cut them in half. You toss them with a bunch of olive oil and salt and pepper. And then you chop up some bacon, just regular off-the-shelf bacon. And you lay all that out on a sheet pan, a layer of the halved Brussels sprouts with the olive oil. And then you put the chopped bacon over the top. And then you roast the whole thing till the Brussels sprouts get pretty brown, not quite crispy. You don't want them to be burnt. And once the bacon crisps and everything's cooked, you take it out. And then while it's still hot, you drizzle a little bit of balsamic vinegar over the whole thing. And then you eat them. Roasted bacon Brussels sprouts are fantastic. And that's the way I choose to make them when I eventually or occasionally buy them at the store. Jodaguso says, I hate Brussels sprouts from my early childhood. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people experienced. Again, if you had steamed or boiled Brussels sprouts, they're gross. But again, roasted bacon balsamic Brussels sprouts are the bomb. I don't know. You can also do a whole bunch of other things that involve stir frying Brussels sprouts is fine too. We used to do that in the kitchen when I worked there. Stir frying gives them a good flavor too. You just want to avoid something that's high moisture, like a steam or boiling. Just don't do that, and they're pretty hard to mess up. But yeah, I think that's kind of a PR. The victims of PR more than being like a bad vegetable, at least in my experience. Next up, we got lettuce. This is a tough one. I wish this wasn't just a generic category for lettuce because I would rank different types of lettuce in different spots on this tier list. So, for sake of one entry, I'm going to put lettuce on mid B tier with another big caveat. Iceberg lettuce is garbage. That would be an F tier. I, for the life of me, cannot understand why people like eating iceberg lettuce either in salad or sandwich. It's just water. It's flavorless water. Red lettuce is okay, decent in sandwiches. At least it has some flavor. Butter lettuce, very good. It's more substantial, good for lettuce wraps. You do like a Thai chicken lettuce wrap with butter lettuce, very good for that. My favorite is romaine. Romaine is very hearty, and as a person who really likes Caesar salad, romaine is very good because it's not really soft and watery. It's actually got some texture. Doesn't have strong flavor, but it's more substantial. So I would say B tier is fine for lettuce in general, but it'd be much lower if it wasn't for romaine and butter lettuce. Jodaguso says iceberg lettuce is mostly for the crunch in my salads. Yeah, I can understand that people like the texture and crunch for iceberg lettuce, but for me, I would rather put like baby spinach, baby kale, arugula, which is not on the list here, unfortunately, radicchio, anything else that's going to at least have some flavor in addition to the crunch, as opposed to just water. I don't know if it's a hot take. Iceberg lettuce fans out there can let me know. When I make sandwiches, I don't put lettuce in my sandwiches. I put either spring mixed greens or spinach. Wazzy yells butter lettuce. Are you a fan of butter lettuce, Wazzy? Because that stuff's great. They sell them in some of the stores where I live in these little plastic containers with the root core attached, so they're alive, and it's like a living thing that you just tear the leaves off, and then I wonder if you could probably plant it if you live in like a really warm climate. But yeah, that's like a bib of butter lettuce that you can use for things. It's good stuff. I like that. Butter lettuce and romaine would be near the top. But because this is a single category, we're going to average it out. Wazi redeemed Raku Faktu. All right. It's been a while since we took it off the list for collab streams. Let me pull out the list here. One thing that I'm going to be doing on these fact redeems going forward, which I gave some thought to before, and I'd like to do some more focus on, in addition to facts about me specifically and my past and all that other fun stuff, I'm going to start mixing in homeworld facts. So you folks that are tuning into the streams can get some lore on homeworld, in addition to all of the embarrassing facts about me. So they'll be mixed in here. I will call them out whenever I make a distinction. So your homeworld fact, the first one on the list is homeworld has 2 suns. It is considerably warmer in the summer. Hey, Joe DeGusso followed. Thanks for the follow. Hopefully our discussions of bad food opinions are compelling, but I hope you enjoy your stay. And thanks for sending that tier list you filled out. Welcome to the Space Bees. That's interesting. When you followed Joe DeGusso, did you get access to that emote? That's one thing I didn't check. I've been keeping a close eye on follower emotes. And for the life of me, I cannot remember if they just toggle on or if there's a specific thing that pops up and says, hey, you have follower emotes now. Because I didn't as of last week, and I didn't when I was streaming earlier in the week. Huh. No, it says they're disabled. Oh, you can use the redeems. That's right. Okay. Gotcha. I forgot you can even do that. All I can say is follower emotes are coming soon. The Twitch rules for new affiliates say you have to have been streaming for 60 days worth of streams without having any sort of violation or problem. And after that, they enable follower emotes. And so I've got a whole bunch ready for you folks. And I'm just waiting for that thing to click over. And I think I'm 3/4 of the way there. It's been over a month's worth of streams, I think. So as soon as that happens, I'll definitely post something about it, and you folks will have access to a lot of different emotes just at the follower level. I'm keeping a close eye on it. Okay, let us continue. Next up, we've got butternut squash. Butternut squash is good. I think the best way to prepare that is roasted or in a soup. You can do like a puree type deal and do like a super bisque. Butternut squash is good. I think I would rank this one higher than acorn just because it's got a little bit more of a kind of rich flavor to it. And they look funny, so that's a bonus. I'm surprised there's no pumpkin on here. There's no pumpkin. There's no zucchini. Oh no, down here. All right, zucchini. There's no yellow squash, which is basically like a yellow zucchini. Yeah, again, this is not an all-encompassing list that was put together by Hechizo, but it's got a lot to talk about, so we'll do that. Next up, we've got cabbage. Again, this one would be better served as not just a catch-all, since there's different types of cabbage. I would rank them differently, but we're going to put cabbage next to lettuce. General, was it European cabbage? Is fine. You can use that for things like salads, stir fries. Chopped cabbage is really good on okonomiyaki, which I do like to make. But the one that I was hoping would be on here, because I'd rank differently, is Napa. Napa cabbage I like a little bit more. It'd go higher up here on the tier list. And for those who've never seen me do one of these, the tier lists go from left to right as far as high ranking within the tier. So bok choy would be higher than avocado because it's further to the left. And so things fill out that way. And right now, we got butternut squash at the top of B tier. But yeah, I would put Napa maybe up here in front of peppers. Napa cabbage is good steamed. It's good stir fried. It's good raw, chopped up in like a Chinese chicken salad. It's pretty versatile. Regular cabbage, like is it English or European cabbages, usually only in cooked stuff because it's got a bit more of a stronger flavor. Hey, the Prince is here. Prince Lemon says, this tier looks too healthy for me to comprehend. Eat your vegetables, Prince. Unless you want to have trouble with regularity, I suggest you eat vegetables. A lot of these are, in fact, almost all of these have so many different ways you could prepare them. That's why I never understand when people say they just don't like or eat vegetables. You could cook or prepare them in so many different ways. There's bound to be something you like. But we will move on. Carrots. Carrots are good. I like carrots. I'm going to put them a little further down on B tier. I think carrots are raw as like carrot sticks are fine. That's a good snack. I don't eat them super often, but I have in the past. Things like baby carrots or just carrot sticks are a pretty good healthy snack. They're also good for your eyesight. So there's that. Roasted carrots are pretty good too, like a roasted, glazed, or seasoned with herbs. You throw them in the oven, also pretty good. Wazzy says, carrots should not be jammed directly into eyes. That is true. If you want to reap the eyesight improving benefits, you have to ingest the carrots through your mouth hole. You can't just shove them in your eye or any other orifice. Well, you could, but you won't get any benefit from it. Next up, cauliflower. White broccoli. Let's see. Cauliflower, I like. I've had some good cauliflower salads. Steamed cauliflower is alright. Stir-fried cauliflower is pretty good. Cauliflower rice, which I learned how to make when I was on a specific type of diet many, many years ago. Cauliflower rice, well, not a stand-in for actual white rice. If you can't eat grains or you can't eat regular white rice or whatever and you have to have something else, cauliflower rice is actually pretty versatile. You can do a lot with that, and it's pretty easy to find. I learned how to make it myself in a food processor, but you can buy bags of it at the stores. If you need a healthy alternative and you have no other options, it's fine. I thought it'd be gross, but it was actually pretty decent. Again, just give me white rice any other day. But if you need to cut carbs, that's another thing. If you just want to cut down on the amount of carbs you eat, cauliflower rice can fill in pretty decently. Sarlat says cauliflower is pretty good. Yeah, I like it. I've seen cauliflower pizza where they use it for the crust. I've never tried it, but I've heard it's okay. They use it to create kind of like a crispy thin crust, and then your various pizza toppings. I've heard that's decent. Just haven't tried it personally. Next up, oh boy. This is going to get me in trouble. Celery. F tier. I can't stand celery. Specifically raw. Cooked and in stuff is pretty inoffensive to me, but raw celery straight up I do not like. It's the flavor. Texture's fine. I don't have a problem with crunchy stuff, but the flavor, no, don't like it. I know Waz is going to yell at me for that one, but I don't care. She's already yelled at me. Zarlat says, I don't know what it's called, but I had cauliflower with potatoes in an egg with tomato sauce. It was good. That sounds good. Waz says, eat your water. If I wanted water, I'll just freaking drink water, Wazzy. See, Prince Lemon's got my back. The Prince says I can agree with that. I've heard a strong argument for celery and blue cheese or ranch dressing. Celery with peanut butter. Nah. Stringy. Crunchy water. I will pass. Next up, chicory. Chicory's okay. I think I've only ever had this in a dish or maybe a salad. It's all right. I'm going to put it here on C tier. And more of a texture type of vegetable. Pretty inoffensive. I wouldn't go out of my way to buy and prepare chicory, but it's fine. Tolerable. A lot of stuff here is going to be on the tolerable tier for C tier. Let's see, where are we at next? Collards. Collards are also a pretty dense and versatile green. I've only had them as collard greens, like the southern dish. They're good though. In fact, I want to learn how to make that. It's basically like a steamed or sautéed dish with all sorts of different stuff in it. To me, collards are kind of like heavier spinach. They're good. I'm gonna put them above butternut or yeah, acorn squash rather. They are kind of a pain to prepare though. The one time I used them to try and make a collard greens recipe, I had to buy them from the store and they're incredibly dirty most of the time. They have a lot of dirt, so you have to wash these very well unless you want to eat dirt. But other than that, it's a good leafy green. It's dense, doesn't get really mushy when you cook it. Retains a lot of flavor. Hey, Iconic is here. Iconic says, "Hi Raku, can't stay at the moment, but hope you have a great stream and glad to see broccoli is not low." Alright. I'm glad to see that there's not a huge hate squad out for broccoli, despite its bad PR. But thanks for dropping by, Iconic, and dropping a hydrate reminder. I have my container of Gafuel here. Caffeine-free Gafuel. But I hope you have a good evening. Eat your vegetables. Next up on the list, we've got corn. Is corn controversial? I feel like corn is not one of those vegetables that's really polarizing. I like corn. I'm going to put it up here on high B tier. And put it above Brussels sprouts. Corn on the cob specifically is good. Boiled, shucked corn on the cob with a little bit of butter is good. Was it sheared or off the cob corn is also pretty good. I really like grilled corn. You see it at fairs and other types of events. I've done it a couple times on an open fire grill. Grilled corn is good. It's like a good smoky flavor. And you can put butter on it. And maybe not relevant to the vegetable tier list, but popcorn. I love popcorn. That comes from the same base vegetable plant. So yeah, corn's good. You ever see the old meme video of the one, I think it's kind of like a young teen, thought it'd be a good idea to stick a corn on a power drill to do like they do in the cartoons and try and like shear the whole corn at once. And so he turns on the drill and then tries to bite into the spinning cob of corn and it just takes his teeth right out. Like his first 4 teeth on his top row get just yanked, yeeted instantly out of his mouth because of the spinning drill. And dude's just sitting there looking at the camera, shocked, missing most of his top row of teeth, and the corn is still spinning. It's brilliant. And it's on the internet forever. All right, let's keep moving. We got cucumber. I actively don't like straight up cucumber. To me, it's kind of similar to celery in that it's just a water delivery vehicle. But there are a couple different ways I like to eat cucumber, which is why I'm not going to put it low on the list. We'll split the difference and we'll put cucumber up on B tier. I like pickles. I've been in more than one pickle argument with certain people that may or may not be still on the stream. But bread and butter pickles are my jam for sandwiches. Asian pickles like tsukemono in Japanese cooking, kimchi in Korean, or those vinegar sliced spiralized cucumbers you get in certain Taiwanese dumpling places. That's good. Cucumbers in Greek tzatziki sauce, also really good. I think I just don't like them straight up by themselves with no sort of preparation. So you won't see me putting cucumbers on a salad. But if it's a type of pickle or pickled vegetable or something like that, usually pretty solid. So I have a bit of a complicated relationship with cucumber. Sour Lad says cucumber with lemon juice and salt is a classic. Yeah, that's essentially one step away from a pickle. And then the Prince says pickles are just vinegar cucumbers. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. They just have more flavor. By themselves, they just taste like crunchy water. They have less flavor than celery. So I'd say, in a vacuum, pickles or cucumbers by themselves would probably be F tier. But because you can turn them into a whole variety of different pickled types, they're going to go further up. Next up, we've got edamame, soybeans. Edamame, again, not something I actively seek out, but eaten in Japanese restaurants or as like a side dish. Sometimes people have like salted or flavored edamame in the pods and just pop them out and eat them. They're good. But not above cabbage. And they're good for you. They're just not something I actively go out and buy, but I'll eat them if they're in front of me. I got no issues with soybeans. A good recipe for edamame that I've seen, I think it's a Hawaiian recipe, is like sesame oil and soy sauce. You sort of mix the beans in the pod and let them soak, and then so you have more of a savory flavor to your soybeans when you eat them. And that stuff slaps pretty hard. But yeah, those are good for you. Next up, we got eggplant. Eggplant is also a pretty versatile vegetable. Eggplants are good. We'll put eggplants above cucumber. I don't buy them terribly often, but I know some good recipes that involve eggplant. You can stir fry them, put them in like Asian dishes. You can roast them. You can do all sorts of stuff with them, but my favorite way of preparing eggplant is to make what were called eggplant stacks. And I learned how to do that in the kitchen when I worked there. You basically take one of the big English eggplants, the big fat ones, not the Chinese eggplants that are more skinny and long. And then you cut the eggplant into discs, maybe about a ½ inch thick. And then you take the discs and then you batter them. The way I made it a long time ago when I was on a diet was using tapioca flour as like a batter. And then you fry them. You deep fry them in a little bit of oil and get them all crispy. And then you take the crispy eggplant slices and you lay them out in a casserole or hotel pan. And you basically do like chicken parmesan or like lasagna stacks. So the way we would do it would be you have the crispy eggplant rounds, and then you put ricotta cheese, marinara sauce, parmesan, and you do sandwich stacks, towers of these things. And then you just bake it the whole thing off. And then top them with more marinara sauce. So you have eggplant parmesan stacks, essentially. That's why they call them that. Really good recipe. A little bit of work to make, but if you want a good vegetarian substitute for like a chicken parmesan dish, it's pretty good. Let's see. Next up, endives. That's another one I don't eat very often. I've had them in salads. These are like little baby romaine lettuce things. You break them apart and use the leaves kind of like scoops if you want to put something in them, or chop them up, put them on salad. Endives are fine. They're like a more spicy flavored lettuce. They're definitely better than iceberg lettuce, that's for sure. We'll put them down here. Not bad, but not something I actively seek out. They're kind of pricey too. They're not cheap. Next up, fennel. Now this is fennel the vegetable, not fennel seed or the green parts. Fennel is very, very strong in flavor. You could put it in stuff. Used to make some dishes that had the fennel bulb chopped up, and it's almost got like a licoricey flavor to it. It's strong. Wouldn't be my favorite, but it's not bad. Fennel seed I don't really like. That is a very, very overpowering spice flavor. But for the vegetable, it's fine. You just have to be careful. Your entire dish will take on a fennel flavor if you're not careful with how much you use. Next up, gailan, Chinese broccoli. Very common in Chinese restaurants, Taiwanese restaurants. Let's put you up here. I'm going to put this under regular broccoli just because the ways I know to prepare gailan are a little bit less varied than regular broccoli. It's really good steamed. I like mine sauteed. You stir fry with some garlic, maybe some other vegetables. It's a really good dish. Pretty versatile. Has less of a, I don't know what you call it, kind of like a granular texture like broccoli does. Instead, it's more like almost more like an asparagus in texture, because doesn't have like the little things on the top of the florets. But yeah, that's good. You put some oyster sauce or hoisin on it. Next up, we've got lotus root. I think in Japanese it's renkon. Lotus root's great. That's a good vegetable. It's going up near the top. Don't eat it very often, but I think the best way to eat this is battered and fried like a tempura. You like a tempura batter and you fry it, and outside is crispy and the inside is very soft. That's really good. That's more of a pain to prepare. But also in things like hot pot. I've been to Chinese hot pot places, or I guess Taiwanese technically, or Mongolian hot pot places where they have this stuff just sliced and you throw it in like a soup base and you boil it and it gets soft. Very, very good. It's got kind of an earthy flavor and absorbs the flavors of anything you cook it in. Lotus root's great. It's a very, very tasty vegetable. Next up on the list, we've got green beans. Green beans are fine. I'm going to put these up on B tier. We will put green beans maybe above edamame. Kind of like the other ones, my go-to for green beans is stir-fried. One place that we have here in this country, in different spots all over the place. I live on the West Coast, but there is a restaurant chain that came from Taiwan called Din Tai Fung, and it's a Taiwanese dumpling restaurant. They got them up and down the coast here where I live. I know there's one in Vegas. I don't know how far east they go. They're sort of slowly branching out, but Din Tai Fung does stir-fried sautéed green beans where they do like a flash fry on the green beans to get them kind of wilted, and then they toss in salt and garlic, and then they stir-fried at high heat to get a kind of crusted salt garlic covering on the green beans. It's phenomenal. That's my favorite way to do it. I've gotten kind of close at home using crushed garlic and salt, but that is a great way to eat green beans. So that's going to put them decently high on the list here. You can also steam them. They'll be a little bit softer. You just have to be careful not to over steam them and they get mushy. Yeah, green beans are good. Next up, kale. Kale, aka the health nut vegetable. And this is the full grown one, not baby kale. I'm going to put this on... I'm going to go upper B tier. I like kale, but it is not easy to cook with. If you buy the full size regular kale, you need to wash it very carefully because it accumulates tons of dirt. Very dirty vegetable. And it's dense, so you have to make sure you're not just using whole leaves because otherwise it'll be kind of annoying to eat. So you have to kind of break it up. But if you clean it, prep it, and then do something like a garlic stir fry, kind of like we talked about with the green beans, it's a good vegetable dish. And it shrinks down to nothing. Probably due to the high amount of water retained by the vegetable. It's still dense. It's more dense than like a cabbage or a spinach. But my favorite way to eat kale is either baby kale in a salad or kale chips, where they've been dehydrated and flavored. Kale chips are great. I don't know how to make them personally, but failing that, stir-fried is good. It just requires a bit more work. And if you're not careful, the stems get really tough if you don't cook them enough. So kale's fine. It's a bit more labor intensive, which is what keeps it from being up here on like A tier. Next up, we got leeks. Leeks kind of function like more heavier, dense green onions. These also get very, very dirty. So if you're going to prepare leeks, you got to make sure to rinse them very effectively, because if you were to cut it in half, you'd see there lots of folds, layers, like an onion, and dirt gets trapped in there. And unless you feel like eating dirt, you have to rinse and drain leeks very, very carefully. That being said, good vegetable to cook with. Marginally easier than kale, so they're going to go above kale here. I know a couple good dishes that involve chopped leeks. And they have kind of an oniony flavor, good texture. Overall good. I like leeks. They're just a pain to clean. Next up, we got lima beans. I don't know if anyone's going to fight me on this one, but lima beans are going on F tier. I do not like lima beans in texture, in taste. They are just less interesting soybeans. And I can't think of a fun way to prepare these. Maybe if you stir fried them and give them a good flavor, but steamed lima beans, don't like them. They're just kind of soggy and gross. I would much rather get shelled edamame soybeans and cook with that than lima beans, just because they seem to absorb moisture too much. They're like little sponges. Not a fan. Next up, mustard greens. Mustard greens, very similar to like your spinaches or collards in a way. You can use them like cabbage, so I'm going to put them right here by cabbage. Mustard greens are good. They're pretty versatile. They have more of a kind of peppery-ish flavor, kind of like an arugula, but a bit more leafy and dense. I will say that I've had some recipes that use mustard greens for Japanese tsukemono, or pickles in Japanese, and basically chop up the mustard greens and you soak them in the pickle solution, kind of like a sweet and savory or spicy if you put chili pepper in it. And that's very, very good. It's delicious. If I had to choose, that's the way I would eat mustard greens. I think from what I read, this is the leaves of the mustard plant. Like the roots are what make actual mustard, but you can eat the greens, and that's what these are. Good stuff. Okay, I'm getting towards the tail end of the list here. Okra. Okra is pretty common in a lot of southern cooking. Fried okra, pretty decent. I'll order that if I go to like a soul food type joint. By itself, it can have a slimy texture, so it's used as a thickening agent in stuff like Cajun food and gumbo. Okra's good. I'm going to put it up here on... I'll put you under cabbage. I'm going under mustard greens. My favorite way to eat okra, which I didn't expect till I tried it, is actually in Indian food. There is a dish called, I think it's bhindi masala. me make sure I'm not misquoting my Indian dishes. Yeah, that looks like it. It's basically a masala curry dish but made with okra. Fantastic. That's one of my favorite things to order at Indian places. And I just tried that on a whim maybe about 7 years ago from an Indian joint that I usually order from. It's really good. Like spicy sauces pair pretty nicely with the texture of okra when it's stir fried or maybe stewed. Very good. Okra masala, top tier. Wish I had some right now. Next up, we got olives, specifically pimento olives. I swear these showed up on one of my other tier lists. I cannot remember what it was. I've ranked. I know I talked about this before, but I don't like pimento olives. They have kind of a briny flavor. If you drink them in something or eat them in like a martini, they're not bad. I think the pimento is the part I don't like. The green olive itself is kind of whatever. I like black olives a lot more, but those aren't on the list here. Oh, this one's not labeled. What is that? That's a type of vegetable I don't recognize. I'll put it here for now. If someone knows what this is, by the time I start working my way through the list, let me know. It's not labeled. But yeah, I would put black olives probably be low B tier. Those are good. Kind of depends what I eat them on. Like I don't like olives on pizza, but black olives by themselves are fine. Kalamata olives, the Greek olives, those go up here. Probably high B tier near the top. I love Kalamata olives. But regular green pimento ones, pass. Next up, we got onions. Again, this is just yellow onions, so I'm going to have to do a catch-all rating for this. I'm going to put onions up on S tier. This includes yellow, sweet, Walla Walla, red. Anything under the onion family is going to go up here. Green onions, technically. Those should be separate. I use onions in everything. I put them in cooked dishes. I use sliced yellow or red onions on my sandwiches. I go through a ton of onions. I go through so many onions that I'm actively trying to grow some in my small, modest garden that I've started. But yeah, they're great. Onions, and there's no garlic on here. That is a shame. Garlic's a vegetable, right? Garlic would be at the top. Top of S tier, I think. I cook with tons of onion and garlic in everything I do. Whether it's Asian food, Italian food, like Mediterranean. Everything has garlic in it. So that would be my favorite vegetable, I think, of all the ones here. But it ain't on the list. That's sad. Next up, parsnips. AKA weird not carrots. Parsnips are okay. I'm going to go at the bottom of C tier. I would much rather cook with these types of orange carrots because they're more sweet. Parsnips are kind of starchy and a little bit more kind of spicy-ish flavor. They're fine. I just wouldn't eat them by themselves. Paired with something like carrots, they're pretty good. I just wouldn't eat them on their own. Next up, peas. Green peas. These are also okay. Sugar peas are fine. I'm going to put them down here in low C tier. I don't pick them out of food and I don't avoid them, but peas aren't my favorite. They're just okay. I find them pretty meh, but I don't dislike them. Things like snap peas or snow peas are much better than the regular loose green peas to me. Next up, we got radicchio. I don't know, is this considered a cabbage or a lettuce? I think it's closer to cabbage. This is a leafier type of green, very commonly used in salads. I'm going to put radicchio under carrots. It's good. It's got more of a flavor than something like an iceberg lettuce. But I don't think I'd ever eat it by itself. Again, most commonly I've had it in salad mixes or on sandwiches. So it's fine, but I wouldn't seek it out as just a standalone dish. I'm assuming you can cook it. I've never had it cooked. Next up, radish. Oh, I'm not a big fan of radishes. I put radishes at the bottom of C tier. I've had pickled radishes in some forms are decent. That's probably my only way I really eat them. Straight up, out of the ground, whole radishes, cooked or in dishes, not really a big fan of. They have more texture than flavor to me, but pretty low mid range. Wouldn't seek them out. And speaking of snap peas are going to go up on B tier. Let's put these above radicchio. Snap peas are good in cooked dishes, stir fries, stuff like that. I think, sauteed is normally the way I would go for snap peas. You could steam them, but they absorb moisture. You'd be careful not to get soggy and gross. So I'd say sauteed in oil with things like garlic and other vegetables. Garlic, onions, maybe zucchini. Pretty good mix for snap peas. And then snow peas. Snow peas are also good, but to me they kind of occupy the same slot as snap peas. Good for stir fry. That's usually the only way I would eat these. You could steam them too, but I imagine these would also be really at the risk of absorbing too much moisture and getting all mushy. So yeah, snap peas, snow peas, throw them in a stir fry. Next up, spinach. This is going to be regular spinach, baby spinach. That's going to go up here on S tier. I also use spinach in a lot of cooking. It's the main green in a lot of my salads, like a baby spinach spring mix salad. I put spinach on my sandwiches. Occasionally I'll do like a sauteed spinach thing or like a flash boiled dish like Japanese goma ae, which is where you take the spinach and you dunk it in boiling water and then pull it out and drain it and cool it. Then you mix it with ground up sesame seeds and soy sauce, and you can sort of do like a mixed salad of cold spinach. That's really, really good. Spinach is better in pretty much all cases compared to lettuce and cabbage. And also, as another bonus for you health nuts out there, since I know people who watch this channel are health nuts, if you want to make something healthy and you like smoothies, a good way to do that would be something like frozen fruit, low sugar yogurt, milk, or some sort of like loose ingredient to make it so it's not too thick. And then whatever else you're making, you throw in a handful of baby spinach in your smoothie. And I know it sounds gross, but if you're doing a fruit smoothie and you throw a handful of baby spinach in, I would say not regular full-size spinach. That's not going to blend well. But like baby spinach you can get in like the salad mixes, you put that in your smoothie and blend it, it'll turn green, but other than that, you won't taste it. The taste just vanishes. And you've added a ton of nutrients and fiber into your smoothie at the cost of turning it green. And I know it sounds weird, and I read that a long time ago, and I thought that sounds terrible. And then I made like a strawberry smoothie with, frozen strawberries, yogurt, and milk. And then I threw just a handful of spinach in, and it turned green. But I drank it, couldn't even tell there was spinach in it from the taste. It's kind of a health hack when it comes to making smoothies. I encourage everyone who's a smoothie fan to try it and just see if you can even tell there's spinach in it. It's very strange. But yeah, good vegetable. Very, very versatile. Next up, Swiss chard. Swiss chard slash red or rainbow chard. I think it's going to be kind of a catch-all here. Also, S tier, one of my favorite vegetables. This will grow pretty well in my area in the summer when you have the hot season. Swiss chard is a stalk-like leafy vegetable. It grows straight up from the ground. Similar to celery, but it doesn't suck. It is leafy and you can eat the stems too. I like Swiss chard just straight up sauteed with olive oil and garlic. It's very good. It's one of my favorites. And Swiss chard is the red one. Rainbow is the same thing, which is different colors. It doesn't really taste different to me. That's a good one. In fact, we should be getting close to this to chard season now. To keep an eye out for that in the stores. Next up, we got tomatillos. Tomatillos and tomatoes, I think, are still technically considered fruits. We'll see if they're on the fruit tier list. Tomatillos are pretty useful. Very common in Hispanic cooking. Let's see. We're going to put these up on B tier above green beans. I'm going to put them below green beans. I don't know how to make a lot of things with tomatillos. Admittedly, I'm not like a scratch salsa person. I need to get better at making that. But I do know a really good recipe for pork chili verde, which is like a simmered cubed pork dish. I don't know where it comes from. If it's Mexican, I don't know. But basically you take cubed pork and dice up a bunch of tomatillos, and then you simmer the whole thing down until it reduces kind of like a thick stew. And then you have like a green tomatillo-based stew with pork in it. And it's very, very good. It's an excellent dish, and it's super easy to make. And that's primarily what I use tomatillos for, but it's one of my favorite dishes to make. It's pretty brainless. I like to throw habanero peppers in mine because I hate my butthole. But yeah, tomatillos are good. Tomatoes, again, this really needs to be broken out into different types because I would rank different species of tomatoes differently. Like your big, giant sandwich beefsteak tomatoes are pretty mid to me. I think you run the risk of them becoming mealy and kind of gross in texture if you're not careful. But cherry and plum tomatoes, the smaller ones, are great for caprese salads with mozzarella and basil. Roma tomatoes are also really good for sandwiches. I think you run the risk of texture issues at a lower level with Romas. So I'm going to put tomatoes in upper B tier. We're going to go below broccoli. Again, keep in mind these are fruits, not vegetables, but you eat them like vegetables in different dishes for the most part. Yeah, I'd say cherry plum, grape, Roma tomatoes are my favorites. Those are really good. I actually have a tomato plant. I mentioned before that I'm attempting to garden, even though I don't have a yard. I basically got some pots out on a balcony, and I'm trying to grow a tomato plant, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if it can survive the high winds I tend to get in my area. I'm growing tomatoes. These are cherry tomatoes. Cherry or Roma tomatoes, I don't remember. I'm growing red onions, which are technically here, and green onions and basil. And I'm hoping I don't kill this basil plant because I've killed 2 of them so far. All right, next up, turnips. Turnips, I'm going to put on D tier. I think turnips don't have really good flavor. They're more textury to me, but I'd rather cook with like a potato. Interesting that potatoes aren't on here at all. There's no potatoes, no yams, or sweet potatoes. Those are considered vegetables, right? Like root-based vegetables. They're not on here. Weird. All right. Well, we will wrap up the list with the last one, zucchini, aka green squash. I'm going to put zucchini up here on upper B tier. I like zucchini. I cook with it somewhat often. My favorite ways to make it are stir-fried or roasted. You can do chopped up roasted zucchini with like a fresh or dried herb mix and garlic. Just throw it on a pan and it's good to go. It's very simple, very easy to make. Sarlat asks, is mint a vegetable? Well, herbs, I think, are just not classified for the sake of this tier list because depending on how you, again, fit them into the different categories, you'd have things like mint, basil, oregano, all of the different spices, rosemary. They're all green when you know they're growing. They're not always found in dried form. But I don't think that was factored into this because I eat a lot of basil. I don't know if that's normally considered a vegetable versus just an herb, but I should look up an herb tier list. That'd be fun to do. Things like oregano, basil, thyme, sage, parsley, rosemary, mint. I'll see. That might not be a bad thing to think about in the future. Maybe herbs and spices. Do one big tier list. All right. So that is the vegetable tier list. Again, some criminal omissions here. No potatoes, no garlic, no different types of onions like scallions or green onions. That's unfortunate. But a good portion of the vegetable rankings for me, as they usually are, shake out in B tier. Some standout ones in A tier, and these ones up at the top are types I use for tons of things. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and move on. The next one is not quite as exhaustive as this one, so it'll probably be a little bit faster of a run. But I encourage everyone watching to make your own tier lists for vegetables. Make your own and send them to me over on Twitter. And if you don't eat vegetables, then start eating vegetables and then make a tier list. But let's move on. This is fruits. It says fruits plus technically Asian fruits. Not quite as many entries here on the list compared to the other one. Let's change this to F. I don't know if there'll be any F tier fruits. Credits for this one goes to Nbuna on Twitter. Let's see. I'm going to separate out the ones that I don't recognize or haven't tried. Let's see. I don't recognize this one or this one. Some of the more exotic Asian fruits I probably wouldn't have tried. Hey, look, tomatoes are on here. Let's see. What is that? That looks familiar. Is that passion fruit? What does passion fruit look like? No, that is definitely not a passion fruit. what else? I think I recognize papaya? That looks like a papaya. A green papaya? No. Papayas have black seeds. What is that? If anyone recognizes some of the fruits I'm dumping into the I don't know category, let me know. Oh, here's papaya up here. Almost looks like a squash with all the seeds. I see Sour Ladder Redeemed Hydrate. All right, I'm going to drink some more of my Gafuel. Not sponsored. Okay. We'll leave these here for now. And if I need to separate anything else out, I will. So fruits. First up, dragon fruit. I've ever had... I don't think I've ever had dragon fruit that wasn't like a synthetic flavor of it. So how do I rank that? I'm going to have to put it on haven't tried because I've never tried straight up fresh dragon fruit. But I like the flavor of it, you know, in artificial form. So I imagine I would like it in real life. It's a weird one, though. You look at the texture and the inside of a dragon fruit. It's very weird. But I'm sure it'd be fine. Next up, nectarines. Or is this a peach? This is a peach. This is a nectarine. They're similar in shape, but nectarines aren't fuzzy. They're smooth skinned, and peaches have like the fuzzy butt crack thing going on. So peaches, I'll go A tier. I like peaches. I don't eat them super often. I actually don't buy a lot of fruit. I probably should, because it's better than eating, you know, candy or anything like that. But peaches are good. You can eat them straight up. You can stew them. You can freeze them. You can make them into a pie. Good stuff. Next up, we got mango. Fresh mango is pretty good. It's tough to get where I live because mango doesn't grow in my area at all. But having been to places like Hawaii where they've got mango everywhere, get fresh mango off the tree or chilled, pretty good. Dried mango is also very good. Popular Hawaiian product that I've seen is like a sliced dried mango or flavored with a type of powder they call lihing moi. That's really good. So I'll put mango near the top of B tier. Next up, here's papaya. Papaya is very similar in flavor to mango. I think it's kind of more of a softer texture. It's okay. I'm going to put papaya on high C tier. As far as fruits go, I wouldn't say no if it was, you know, in something or whatnot, but wouldn't actively seek it out. Sarlat says soft and delicious, but no way can fruit. Is that a complete thought, Sarlad? Or did you mean like no canned fruit? Because I would definitely agree. I tend to avoid canned fruit. That's not as good. Let's see. Next up, Asian pears. Asian pears are good. Those are gonna go higher than peaches on A tier. I think the Japanese word for these is nashi. If you get these at the store, there's a whole bunch of different varieties of Asian pears, but they've got like a really nice light flavor. They're not too sweet and syrupy. They're really good if you slice them and then chill them. Really good fruit, and you eat them straight up. Silent says canned fruit. Yeah, yeah. I don't really endorse canned fruit unless you're cooking with something, or maybe like canned mandarin orange slices are okay in certain salads, but yeah, not a fan. Next up, cherries. Uh, this is catch-all for all types of cherries. This one doesn't really get into the specifics. I'm gonna put cherries on A tier as a general catch-all. If Rainier cherries, which is a different species of cherries, was on here, it'd be S tier. Rainiers are a little bit bigger than like your Bings or Stellas. They're also yellow. They're like yellow and red kind of mottled texture, but they're bigger and juicier, and they're actually more expensive. I've seen in stores they charge an arm and a leg sometimes for Rainier cherries, but those are great. Again, those would be S tier. This is just cherries in general. A tier. Good fruit. Got in mind, you don't swallow the pits. But yeah, cherries are good. More of a summer, warm season fruit. Let's see. Grapefruit. I'm going to probably get in trouble for this one. I do not like grapefruit. That's going in F tier for me. I do like citrus-based fruits. Pretty much all of them are fine except grapefruit. I do not like grapefruit. It's the bitterness, the flavor. Texture-wise, it's like an orange. It's a bigger orange, but I do not like the bitterness. The sour, bitter taste of grapefruit, I just do not like. And it's extremely overpowering in whatever you put it into. So yeah, I know a lot of people like grapefruit. I can't stand it. It's probably my least favorite fruit. Next up, cantaloupe. Cantaloupe's good. Cantaloupe and honeydew are in a weird category where I can't eat them because something on the outside of the fruit, if it gets on whatever surface you're using to cut it, like if it's chopped or cored, it irritates my mouth. So I can't eat cantaloupe or honeydew because it makes my mouth and throat itch. But I really like the flavor of melon stuff in general. Honeydew, cantaloupe taste great, but I can't eat them in most cases unless I prepare it myself because it's either pesticides or something they use on the outside I must be allergic to because it makes my mouth itch. Sarlat says grapefruit is fine, but it's the second skin that ruins the flavor. Interesting. You're talking about that inner layer of skin like grapefruits and oranges have. I find that the flesh still just tastes too salty or sour and bitter for me. Can't do it. I've tried. Grapefruit juice, can't do it. Grapefruit in cocktails, can't do it. It's just one of those flavors that I can't abide. But next up, we have this is lychee. Some people call it lychee. Since I've been around it, I've always heard it called lychee. I'm going to put that on B tier. It is a very distinctly flavored fruit. I don't know if it's originally native to Asia, but you see it in a lot of Asian desserts and a lot of Asian things. It's good. It's just distinctly unique in flavor compared to something like a cantaloupe or cherries. If you don't mind the strong flavor of lychee, it's pretty good. It's got this kind of rough outer skin and inside is kind of soft. It's like a soft white flesh. It's kind of a weird fruit, but it's good. Kind of interesting we don't have durian on here. I never tried durian. Fresh durian anyway. So I don't even know where I'd rank that. I have tried durian candy. Someone at work brought back once, like a hard durian candy, and it made me spit it out immediately. That is one acquired taste, let me tell you. If that's what the candy tastes like, the actual fruit, I imagine, is also very pungent. But we move on. Next up, we got avocados. Sarlat said, I think in regards to the lychee, it's good. And Sarlat says, I probably won't survive the smell of durian. See, that's the thing that a lot of people I know, especially people who are from Asia, have told me. Durian smells god-awful. It smells like a corpse. But the inner flesh does not taste like it smells. The inner flesh is very weird and different, but you have to get to it first. Like, the outer parts of the fruit are what stink the most. But people tell me that the inside they really like because it's a different flavor. I just know that the hard candy made from the actual durian fruit, I really didn't like the flavor. It was just hard to describe. It's so weird and gross. Yeah. I don't know. If I ever have a chance to try fresh durian, I would probably try it just to say I did. But, you know, strong or really, really powerfully tasting things tend to affect me, so I'd have to be careful. I wouldn't want to spew all over whoever is serving me the durian. But here we have avocado. Again, actually a fruit. We done the other one. A tier. A tier. For the same reasons on the vegetable tier list, avocado is very versatile and useful in a lot of things. We'll put it there. Next up, we've got red grapes. I like red seedless grapes better than green grapes. So these are going to go up on B tier. I think cantaloupe's going to get pushed down a little bit further on the account of I can't eat it. But red grapes are good. They're good chilled, good summery fruit to drink or eat as a snack. The heavily seeded grapes I'm not a big fan of, but I'll eat them. I did try, this was a couple years ago, because people online were just raving and hyping up, and I had to try it. There's a species of green grape called cotton candy grapes, and they're very sweet, and I imagine high in natural sugar as a result, but they do taste like cotton candy. They have a really, really distinct sweet flavor. They're really good, but they're not cheap. I haven't really sought them out in stores, but one time I tried cotton candy grapes. I was like, yeah, all right, it's good. I don't think it's the best thing since sliced bread, like some people online were saying, but it was good. And it did taste like cotton candy, so it's not false advertising. Let's see. Next up, pears. I like pears. Pears are good. We'll go up here. Above or below grapes for me? I'll go below because I tend to eat grapes more often. Pears are also pretty versatile. You can do a lot with them. You could roast them. You could stew them. You could slice them up, put them on salads, just like you can with apples. I am a big fan of pear cider. Sorry, that says soft pear are best. Yeah, right before they get overripe and really mushy, but kind of like a soft, tender pears are good. All right, now we have nectarines. Basically the bald cousin of peaches. Nectarines have more of a firm texture. They're not quite as soft as peaches. They don't have the fuzz, but they're good. They're good to eat straight up. You could slice them and use them on fruit salads. I think they're pretty solid. So I'm going to put nectarines below mangoes. Next up, oh boy. I don't think Wazi's still here, but chances are she'll see this at some point and yell at me for it. Pineapple. I am going to put pineapple at the top of A tier. I really like fresh pineapple. Canned pineapple is gross. Don't eat canned pineapple. Fresh pineapple, chilled and sliced, is really good. But like I've talked about repeatedly on stream here, whenever it comes up, my favorite way to eat pineapple is grilled. And Brazilian steakhouse places are where I've had it most frequently. Seasoned, spiced, grilled pineapple over like an open grill and then sliced up is god tier. If I ever see Wazi in person, I'm taking her to a Brazilian place where you can try that because it is very different from regular pineapple. You lose a lot of the acidity. You get a mix of kind of a spice flavor, and so it's not quite as salty or sour and tart. But yeah, grilled pineapple is the best, but fresh is good too. And I will defend pineapple. Pineapple on pizza, while I do like it, I'm not going to necessarily die on that particular hill. People seem to think it's an affront to God to have pineapple on pizza, but I think it's fine. But as a fruit itself, pretty good. A tier. Next up, we've got raspberries. I like berry type fruits in general. There's only a couple on here though. Raspberries, blueberries, strawberries. There's no blackberries or huckleberries. I don't really know what Marionberry tastes like by itself. No goji berries. Raspberries are going to go up on A tier. Go under pineapple. You can get these usually just at the store, fresh. Is my favorite way to eat raspberries. But you can also turn it into like raspberry pies. I know a pretty good recipe for raspberry vinaigrette, which involves taking the raspberries, cleaning them, and then you basically stew them on the stove in a vat of balsamic vinegar until the raspberries break down and reduce, and then you strain out the seeds and then blend it with mustard to make the actual vinaigrette. Raspberry vinaigrette's great. I haven't made that in a while. Starlight says, I like pineapple with pepperoni, but pineapple by itself is a no for me. I see. I think grilled pineapple will change your mind. But, that's just me. Next up, pomegranate. Pomegranate's kind of a weird fruit. It's kind of a pain to prepare and eat because you break open a pomegranate and all of the seeds are kind of just clustered together with this. You can sort of see it in the picture here, but there's this fleshy membrane that sort of keeps all the fruit seeds together. And the best way to prepare it is to break it up and then rinse it off under water to get it all loosened up, and then you just strain it. Hey, Red Makoto followed. Thank you for the follow, Red Makoto. Welcome to the Space Bees. Hope you enjoy your stay here. We are ranking fruits on the tier list and risking cancellation, at least for me. But aside from prep, pomegranate seeds are fine. It's kind of a pain to eat because they're seedy. I like pomegranate juice, so I'm going to put them down here in B tier. They weren't such a pain to prepare. Red Makoto says, this is my first stream, but I just have to say I disagree with everything you say. That's fine. Here's what we can do. We did this for the previous one. The first part of the stream, we ranked vegetables. The VOD will have all of that, so you can see how my terrible opinions on vegetables shake out. But for fruit, if we put this in chat, you should be able to pull up the tier list on your own and feel free to rank your own fruits in however you want. And like I told some other folks that were here earlier, feel free to share your opinions. You can do your ranking, and I told people the easiest way right now, because I don't have a community Discord yet, is just to send it to me on Twitter. My @'s RakuBPM on Twitter. But yeah, send me your tier lists. I welcome the discussion. One of the more vocal people who is not here at the moment, I don't think, because it definitely would have been triggered by the pineapple discussion. Likes to yell at me, but I say, bring on the discussion. Everyone's got opinions. I get the feeling this grapefruit one is what a lot of people disagree with, because a lot of people like grapefruit. I just can't do it, man. Don't like the flavor. But we move on. Blueberries. Blueberries are good. I'm going to put them under raspberries. Kind of in the same way, a lot of the berries are versatile and you can use them for a lot of things. I like that blueberries are good fresh. They're a little bit tart until they start to get really ripe. Chilled blueberries, really good snack, especially in the warm seasons. You can put them in dessert dishes like pies, like a blueberry pie. Blueberry muffins are top tier. Kind of like I mentioned with making a vinaigrette out of fruits. You can stew blueberries and strain them to make blueberry vinaigrette. Also really good. Very simple, good salad dressing. But yeah, in general, I like the berry-based fruits probably the most. We'll see as things shake out here. But yeah, upper tier. Next up, we got plums. Plums, another one I don't eat super often, but I'm going to put plums on upper B tier, above lychee, below nectarines. I do like plums. They can be kind of tart, but they're a good fruit. People turn them into prunes. I don't eat prunes often, but they're all right. Like dried plums, that's how you get prunes. They're pretty good. Similar in texture to a nectarine, just different flavor. Next up, we've got coconuts. Another divisive fruit from people I've talked to. I'm going to put coconut on A tier, but under the berries. And so coconut's kind of a challenge because, like, how do you eat it? You know, are we talking about shredded coconut? Things like a macaroon type cookie, which is shredded coconut, or a candy bar like Almond Joy, which is like a coconut paste. My experience with coconut is fresh off of a tree. Again, I tried it in Hawaii a long time ago. Fresh coconut off the tree, chilled, with the soft meat on the inside, or what they call spoon meat. You just scoop it out with like a spoon. It's delicious. The fresh coconut water or coconut milk on the inside, when it's fresh and chilled, also very good. It's the reason why I can't drink commercial coconut water products, because I'm used to having it fresh, and the actual products they sell are very processed and taste more like sour rancid water compared to what you get off the actual fruit. Yeah, coconut's great. Best way is fresh, which I understand is difficult for people to just get depending on where you live. But yeah, upper tier, good stuff. Next up, green grapes. Green grapes are going to go upper C tier for me. This is just generic green grapes, not like your cotton candy or specific flavored types. They're fine. I like red ones better. They have a little bit more of a flavor. But green grapes are okay. They're good chilled. What else we got? We got bananas. I do not eat bananas very often. I used to eat them for breakfast back when I ate breakfast 15 years ago. And they're good. The problem with bananas is they're very sweet and they have a lot of sugar. So I'm going to put bananas below pears. I do like different things you can make with bananas. Like you have bananas Foster, banana bread, banana cream pies are good. And it's good fruit. It's just not one I eat very often because it's very high in sugar. No plantains on here. Technically a fruit, but not consumed like normal fruits, I suppose. Oh, let's see. We will move on. Kiwis. Kiwis are good. Another fruit that I don't eat super frequently, but I do like the taste and texture of kiwis. So let's put these below bananas. Usually in like a fruit salad or other type things. I think I've had these chopped up on acai bowls before. There's no acai berries on here, huh? But kiwis are good. They're a little bit seedy in texture, but pretty good flavor. Very like refreshing if they're chilled. I dig kiwis. Let's see. Moving down the list. Oh, this is just oranges in general. Interesting. I would have separated this out into more tiers of citrus fruits. There's no lemons, there's no limes, there's no mandarins or satsumas. There's there's definitely a lot from the citrus family that's not on here. It's just oranges and grapefruits, I guess. Oranges are good. It's going up on A tier. Put them above coconuts. No blood oranges. No tangerines. That's fine. I like fresh oranges just peeled. Peeled's usually my go-to for those. They're pretty good. Occasionally I'll buy like the case of the smaller like Satsuma oranges you just peel. I guess now would be a good time to poll the viewers in chat if wherever you live, whatever country you're from, if it is common practice to use tools or implements to open or peel oranges. Because I didn't realize that was a thing. It definitely isn't where I live in the States. But I'm always curious to see if that's a thing in other countries. Next up, honeydew. Another one of the melons. I'm going to put that one up here with cantaloupe. Again, I like the taste of honeydew quite a bit. It's a very refreshing tasting fruit. It's just something on the way they process or treat these on the outside makes my mouth and throat itch. Same with cantaloupe. Which is unfortunate. And I learned this when I was working in the kitchen and having to prep cantaloupes and honeydews, which were very popular in the fruit bar. Where you just peel the entire melon and then you slice it all up into small pieces. And then you serve that chilled. And occasionally I would have to try the fruit to make sure it was not spoiled or overripe. And I'd have the same problem. So I think it's something on the outside, on the rind, that I'm allergic to. It's a shame. Next up, we've got apples. This is just a generic catch-all for apples. Again, if we were getting into the granular details, we'd want specific types of apples, right? You have Red Delicious, Granny Smith's, Golden Delicious, Fuji apples, Gala apples. There's a bazillion species of apples. My favorite's Honeycrisp, when I feel like spending money on slightly more expensive ones. Those are good. So that alone is going to put apples up here above pears. But in general, we'll put them up on high B tier. Honeycrisps would probably be S tier if they were separated on their own. Whoop. I did not mean to do that. What did I swap? Can't see when I moved. Oh well, that's fine. I'll double check the list later. Let's see. Red Makoto asks, what other types of foods are you going to cover? Well, for today, we focused on produce. We will finish out the fruit list. Again, we did vegetables first. I'll put the vegetable tier list in the chat too, if you want to create your own and then send me your opinions so we can compare notes. Here's the vegetable tier list. We did vegetables. We're going to do fruits. I do have another one that I'm going to save for a future one, since for some reason we have the most animated discussions around foods here on the channel. But I've got a dessert one. This is a pretty lengthy one, so that's why I want to save it for a future stream. But in the past, I have covered, let's see, we've done cereals, we've done international candy. I have a lot of these saved. We've done sushi. That was one of the first ones I did. I wouldn't mind revisiting that one if I can find a different list. Fast food. That one got me in trouble. We've done ice cream flavors. This is the candy one, I believe. I've done an alcohol tier list. We've done tier lists here that aren't food too. Things like video game tier lists, video game controllers. Kind of a spread. Fighting games, that one took a long time. But the food ones are fun. So I will take the dessert one and I will think about some other ones to do in a future session. If you have suggestions for types of tier lists you want me to talk about here, feel free to send them to me, either on Twitter or mention them here in the chat, and then I can run them down on the tier list site and put them together for future streams where we sit and talk about these. I'm always down for suggestions. Okay, got 4 more. Next up, strawberries. Strawberries are one of my favorite fruits. Those are going on S tier. Let's go. Whoa. We got a raid from the one and only Bits Blight. The homie coming in with the raid 9. Thanks for the raid, Bits. I hope your stream went well. And to all of the folks jumping on from Bits' stream, welcome. Yes, Bits asked Fruity stream. We are doing produce-based tier lists today. The first ones were vegetables. Sorry, lad, I don't have a shout-out command yet. I really need to do that. I'm sorry. Yes, shout out to Bits. Please check out their stream. But yeah, the first part of the stream today, we did vegetables. Just to real quickly scroll through what I got here on the screen. And then now we're doing fruits. We're finishing up fruits. And trying not to get canceled for terrible food opinions. Let's see. First time chat from Proc Prime. Proc Prime says, Ayo. What's up, Proc Prime? Welcome. Welcome to the Bad Opinion cancellation stream. Core Break says, canceled, pineapple sucks. I maintain that grilled pineapple is top tier, and I don't care what people say. We can argue about regular pineapple, fine, but grilled pineapple, come on. That's good stuff. Proc Prime says, raspberry, not S tier, I cry. I like raspberries. They're very good. Bit says, cantaloupe and honeydew are F tier. Yeah, I was talking about that before all you folks jumped on. But I like the taste of cantaloupe and honeydew, but I can't eat them because something on the outsides, or that's the way they treat it, causes my mouth and throat to itch. So I can't eat them, even though I like the taste. It's unfortunate. Unfortunate. Of course says, grilled might be okay. Bits, fight me. Let's see. Last one placed was strawberries. Fresh strawberries are good. Again, kind of like raspberries and blueberries. Really good and easy to turn into a vinaigrette for things like salads. But I like strawberries. In the warm seasons when they're in stores, I usually try and pick those up every once in a while. I really should do a cooking with Raku stream at some point if I can get a good setup. A lot of things I talked about in the vegetable tier list that we did earlier was how I like to cook all these different vegetables that I have on the list. I shared my bacon balsamic Brussels sprouts recipe. We talked about salads, and for things like fruit, I talked about the vinaigrettes and stuff that I make. Ooh, Core Break redeemed Drop a Beat. That is the first Drop a Beat of the evening. I dropped the price of Drop a Beat to help ease the burdens of economic inflation. So it is now $7.50. I'll leave it there for now, unless I, find that it's too cheap. But let me do this. Let us pause the background music. And boy, even think about what beats to do. Well, I will come up with something. So for all you new folks who might not know who I am, in addition to doing funny tier lists and gaming stuff, occasionally we do beatboxing related things on the streams here. That's why I drop a beats here. So I will attempt to freestyle one right now off the top of my head. Let's do it. Turn the BGMs back on. Core says, "I love your beats." Fruit beat. Yeah, I should have probably referenced a fruit in there somewhere, or a vegetable. We did do vegetables. Also, Core redeems a hydrate. Will do. All right, we are coming up on the finish line for the fruit list here. We got tomatoes. The tomatoes were on our previous one because they, whatever reason, included fruits on the vegetable tier list. So we're going to put them up on high B tier again. To recap what I said about tomatoes on the previous tier list, above apples, I like the small tomatoes like cherry, grape, plum tomatoes, and the medium ones like Roma, because the big ones like your generic sandwich or beefsteak tomatoes tend to get soggy and mealy too easily. The small tomatoes are better. You can use them in things like caprese salads, which is one of my favorite things to make. You can put them in sandwiches, specifically Roma tomatoes for that. Core says small tomato. Yeah, the small ones have a better flavor and texture to me. I did mention that I am attempting to learn how to garden right now, and I have a tomato plant. I acquired a potted tomato plant that's sitting on my balcony, and I just transplanted it into a big pot because the one it came in was very small and it got blown over in the first windstorm we had a couple weeks ago. So now it is in a big heavy pot, and hopefully it does well, and if I have good results, I will make sure to share them on Twitter with you folks so you can see. Core says, "Oh, gardening Raku." Yeah, I'm also trying to grow basil and red onions and green onions. Those have been growing really well. Be up to my eyeballs in green onions and red onion greens. But I'm trying to get this tomato plant to take off and not kill a third basil plant. The last one I had died during the cold season. But we shall see. All right. Real quick, since what I want to do is finish up the tier list, we'll talk about it, and then we'll recap everything we did on the first one and the second one. So before we do that, I am going to go fry some chicken, and I will be back here in just 1 minute. So I will leave everything here, and you folks can look at the layout of the fruit stuff, and I'll be back in 1 minute. All right, we are back. Let us proceed with the remainder of the fruit tier list, and then we will see what we've done for the day. Next up, we have watermelon. This is the third of the melon types here, and figured this one was going to be on here. Watermelon is going up on S tier. I love watermelon, especially when it's chilled. Seeded watermelon's okay. Usually, if I'm going to buy one and actually prepare it and eat it, I'll get a seedless one just to make it easier. But the flavor is the same across the different types. And the flavor and texture of watermelon's good until it gets really ripe. Then it's kind of gross. But yeah, on a hot summer day, either cubed or sliced watermelon, pretty top tier. I did hear about an interesting recipe from a coworker a long time ago that I've always wanted to try, but I just never really was motivated to devote the resources to doing it. Is where you take a whole watermelon like this, and then you cut a chunk out of the top, and then you empty an entire bottle of vodka into the whole watermelon, and then you replace the little chunk, and then you put it in the fridge to chill and soak overnight. So what happens is the entire watermelon absorbs all the vodka, and then when you slice and eat it, you basically have an alcoholic watermelon. Interesting idea. I don't know what it tastes like, but sounds like it could be good. Sounds like it could be pretty dangerous too. But failing that, give me fresh watermelon. It's pretty bomb. I do dig it. And the last thing on the list, what is that? Is that a persimmon? Persimmons are longer, aren't they? I gotta look it up. Okay, no, that's a persimmon. we'll rank that accordingly. Persimmons are good. I don't eat them fairly often, but I've had them. So I'm gonna put them up here under kiwis. Bit says it is a persimmon. I've seen. There's something else I'm thinking of that is orange, and I think it's a little bit longer. The name escapes me now. I was getting that confused with this one. I'm sure it'll come to me after the stream. But yeah, persimmons are good. They're kind of similar in texture to a tomato. They don't taste like a tomato, obviously, but the texture is kind of soft and fleshy. They're good. I don't eat them super often, but when I've had them before, they're pretty good. Oh yeah, that is what they look like on the inside. Huh. Alright. Let me get a good screen capture here. So for folks that might have been jumping on as we were plowing through the fruit tier list, if anyone recognizes some of these ones on the haven't tried list, some of these I just flat out couldn't recognize. I know what a dragon fruit is, but these first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here, I didn't recognize. One of these is a guava. What's a guava look like on the inside? Guavas are pink. Yeah. They're not always pink. This one looks... These two are kind of similar, but I don't think these are guavas. Maybe this one, but it's not pink on the inside, so I don't know. And this one here, I know I've seen this before, but I cannot remember what its name is. I think this is an Asian fruit. And same thing for this one. I've seen it before, but I don't remember. Oh, Bit says the one on the right. Oh, is that a durian? It's such a small picture, I couldn't see the spiky on it. Okay, alright, I see it now. It's kind of hard to tell because you can't see the texture. Yeah, this is a dragon fruit. I've never had a fresh dragon fruit before. I only know the flavor. I've never had a durian fresh, so these are on the right tier. I just didn't know what they all were. I've had durian candy, and it made me want to throw up. But this one, I don't know what this one is that I'm selecting here. And this one looks similar to a lychee, but it's not, because that's up here. Yeah, I get the feeling these are Asian fruits. Huh. Yeah, there's no guava and there's no passion fruit. At least not ones I recognize from the pictures here, so... Yeah, between that and a bunch of the key citruses, like your lemons, limes, I'm surprised those were left off here. For the record, I would have probably rated a lemon low A tier, lime mid B tier. But I don't know if I'd be able to rate them accurately since I don't consume lemons or limes by themselves. Oh, Bit says tamarind is the second one. Tamarind is... I guess it is. Is it a fruit? I didn't know that. I've only had tamarind paste. I always thought it was like a seed. You're right. That is definitely tamarind. A tropical fruit. I've never had that before. I've only had it in paste form, or like a sauce. Bit says I used to work in a grocery store. I also used to work in a grocery store, but I didn't work in produce or checking, so I never had to memorize what everything was. This one's curious. This looks like some sort of Asian fruit. Yeah, curious. All right, let's go back and recap what we did. Again, controversial takes are I like pineapple and coconut. If we flip over to the vegetable tier list, there was a bunch here that I haven't tried. Okay, here's a question for Bits, is the former grocery store employee. Do you know what this is down here? This one that I'm selecting here, this kind of weird, spiky. It's hard to tell if this is like one fruit or one vegetable or a cluster of them. I know I've seen this, I just don't know what it's called. This one I wasn't sure about. Kohlrabi, I think, is like a turnip type thing. Fiddlehead looks like ferns. Looks like coiled ferns. I've never seen that. Celeriac. Never even heard of. Romanesco broccoli. Is that what this is? Yep. Yep, that is indeed Romanesco broccoli. Interesting. What a funky looking plant. It almost looks like a head of broccoli or cauliflower, but like fractalized with all these little bushy bits that come off of it. This one right here. Very weird. And if you slice it, it almost looks like the same pattern as a head of broccoli or cauliflower. Weird. Okay, that makes sense. I'm just gonna look up some of these other ones, like kohlrabi. Or kohlrabi? Is that not an I? I can't read it because it's so small. Kohlrabi. Kohlrabi is German turnip. Stout cultivar of wild cabbage. Okay, so I'm assuming similar to turnip. Bit says fiddleheads are so good but hard to get and annoying to cook. Is it just like a fern? We're sitting here googling random vegetables. I can just look it up. Yeah, I've seen these plants all over the place, or things that are similar species with those coiled fern looking things. Fiddlehead greens are the furled fronds of a young fern harvested for use as a vegetable. Okay. Interesting. What did that taste like? It says most of the ones you put are root vegetables. Yeah, again, this tier list, which is a little bit bigger, it is not all encompassing. It includes root-based vegetables, but there's no tubers on here. There's no potatoes, sweet potatoes, yams, none of that. No garlic. That's the one that I said is the biggest omission. If we're talking about root-based vegetables, garlic would have been the top. As a person who cooks a lot with garlic and onions, it would have been at the top of my list. Sweet potatoes or yams would have been probably up on A tier. I do like those a bit. Bit says rutabaga, kohlrabi, celery root, sunchoke are all root vegetables like beets or turnips. Yeah, okay. Wazzy was yelling at me because I never had a rutabaga. It never coincided with my cooking. I don't know what sorrel is. It looks similar to chard. Leafy green plant used as an herb and vegetable with a distinctive sour lemony flavor. Okay. I don't think I've even seen that in a store. I also got yelled at for the celery. I do not like celery. Celery and lima beans go on F tier. Let's see. Other than that, I think most of the stuff here is pretty reasonable. Didn't have too strong opinions on the C tier stuff. That's why it's there. Bits says I agree with most of this. Well, that's good. It's okay if you don't either. Like I said, here, let me put the link to this one in the chat. For folks who are watching the recap here, feel free to make your own version of this tier list, and the fruit one I pasted further up. Let me see, where was it? It was I'll post the fruit one again since this was before the raid. Like I said before, create your own tier lists and then send them to me on Twitter so that we can compare notes. And then everybody put pineapple really high up so we can send them to Wazzy. Yeah, some of these other ones, like broccolini, dandelion, it's all stuff I've seen, just never tried. It makes me want to go look through my produce section next time I'm there and see if some of the stuff is on the shelf. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that will do for today's tier list stream. Again, I think we spent most of our time talking about vegetables. This is the bigger tier list. But I do want to work on some more food ones in the future, since, again, we get the most interesting conversations with food tier lists all the time. On the docket for next time will be this dessert one that I had saved in case we blaze through the first two really quickly. We've got a whole mess of different types of desserts. I'm going to save this one. But I'll also go and scrub through the tier list site, see if there's any other ones I want to lump into that group. Again, I always tell people, send me suggestions on Twitter if you see something that you want me to talk about here and get canceled over. I'm always down for suggestions. We tend to do these chill streams usually every couple weeks, depending on how much stuff I can find to talk about. But yeah, let me see who's online to raid before we wrap up for the day today. Once again, shout outs to Bits Blight and Bits crew for coming in with the raid. This is very much appreciated. Oh, let's see. Nobody I know is online to raid. Bits, if you're still there, if you know one of your friends or one of your crew that's online to raid, you want to drop their information, then I can put him in here and we can go raid. Most of the people I know tend to be on later in the evening. I'm streaming a little bit earlier than usual today just because I had time. And as a result, no one I know is currently online. Let's see, Bit says Demon Otter Games. All right. Demon Otter Games is playing Among Us. All right. Very good. Bit says I don't have a whole lot of people that I know on right now. That's fine. That's fine. It's not a big deal. We'll go raid Demon Otter and see what they're up to. So let me pause this. We'll go to the outro, and once again, thanks to all the folks who came by and hung out and roasted me for my bad opinions. It's always a good discussion. And again, thanks again to Bits and Bits' crew. So, hope you folks have a good evening, and I will catch you in the next stream. Now, let's go commence the raid.